How's it going, guys? So, we are getting another event, and with a new event comes new operator. New operator means new banner. So, you know me, I have to make a Shiju Pool video, as I always do. It's just me. It's just a me thing. So, if you guys are new to the channel or you've only seen my Shiju Pool series video, you remember how in that video I was like, I'm not really sure if I should recommend you to pull, if I should recommend you not to pull. I'm really mixed about it, blah, 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 blah. This time, not like that. I'm like, straight up, you should not pull Fartooth. I'm not even gonna be like, yeah, short answer, long answer. No. Don't pull this banner. Obviously, if you like her, like the look of her, and you're like, waifu is everything, go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you. I'm not gonna judge you. Just I'm not really into her design, but that's besides the point of my videos. I would just recommend you not to pull this banner. And there's quite a lot to talk about. I summarized them into two main reasons. The first part is the design of the character, not the art, but the whole package of the character. And the second reason is what is coming after this banner. So the event lasts 3 weeks, right? Well, 2 weeks, and then there's another week of break, and then the event that comes right after. That event is going to be really important. So we'll talk about that as well. So let's just get into it. The operator that you shouldn't pull for, Fartooth. So Fartooth is a 6-star Deadeye. So you would think of operators like Ambrielle. And why I bring up Ambrielle, you will understand really, really soon. So they have, relatively speaking, high attack, high base attack. In fact, even though this is only a level 60 Fartooth, if you get to like level 90, plus the module, plus trust, you'll be looking at 1366 base attack. If you get more potential, that goes another plus 40, so 1406 attack. Really high. Relatively speaking, slow attack speed. I think her attack interval is 2.7 seconds, which is not the fastest as usual. And she has really interesting talents and module. So as the release of this operator, we will also get her module straight away. So if you really want to use this operator, I would highly recommend you grind to 100 trust and unlock her module ASAP, because this is a really crucial part of her. So let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, her talent. So her first talent is that if she hasn't taken damage for the past 10 seconds, she will have plus 15% attack. Mix that with the high base attack value, this is a great buff, right? Talent 1, great buff. Her second talent is that during her skill duration, she's less likely to be targeted by enemies' range attacks, which is not that important because obviously you would put snipers further away, right? Also, she will actually ignore enemies' physical dodge, which can come in handy in, personally thinking, 2 situations, one to two situations, and I'll talk about that as well as we talk about her skill set and so on. So as a Deadeye, her trait is that she will prioritize enemies that has the lowest defense within her attack range, which can be a bit of a problem. I will talk about that as well. That actually affects how useful she is in general. And also, when she's attacking enemies that are further away, she will deal more damage, up to 15%. That is actually the ability of her module, and that is why I said that you 100% want to unlock the module ASAP. So this 15% increase in attack is actually damage. So that, you see, I got it wrong there. So increasing in the base attack is the attack like stat before all the calculations. Increase in damage, this 15% increase in damage is actually, so as usual, you would get a base attack, you times it by the skill multiplier, so on and so forth, and then you decrease that by enemy's defense, and you get a value. That's a damage, right? Then you get the extra 15% after that. So that's the final value, not the initial value. So that is actually two separate values in her first talent and her, new trait with her module. So that is actually a really good module, and I would highly recommend you to get it. And combining that with her first talent, obviously the further away the enemy is, the less likely she'll be attacked, and hence she won't get attacked. She will get the plus 15% attack. Easy, right? So, the main point of why I wouldn't recommend anyone to pull this operator is actually within her skill set. Now, let's talk about her skills then, right? Skill 1. Usually skill 1 is like the most generic. It's like, some basic adding stuff, and then it's just really boring stuff. But actually this time, her skill 1 is actually more powerful in terms of DPS, potentially, compared to her skill 2. So I actually want to talk about her skill 1 a bit. So, her skill 1 is that she will gain up to plus 45% attack and plus 45 attack speed. Combine that with the attack interval she has, this is actually a pretty good increase. It will last 35 seconds and I have a 35 SP cooldown. So I would say that this is actually a fine skill if you actually want to use it. Compared to skill 2, I think the mark is that if enemies have greater than 200 to 220, I can't really remember, around that point, skill 1 will actually deal more damage. So the more defense enemy has, skill 1 is actually better. Now, that is a very simple skill. That's it. Skill 2. Skill 2 is the more meh skill in my opinion. So, really interesting skill. So she can attack the entire map. Like, she can hit anywhere in the map. With a limitation. She can only attack enemies that are blocked by your melee units. And see, that is a huge problem. I have to go back to Embriel. Remember Embriel? That great sniper that we usually used for all map attack? What was her limitation for hitting the hitting all map and any enemy on the map? Limitations? No such thing. She has a bit slower attack speed, but who cares? You don't have to put down an operator for her in order for her to attack like anywhere outside of her range. Right. That's enough rant for that part. There's more. So, she will get plus 110 attack speed in the duration of her skill 2. And for those of us who's been looking at CN roguelike, who all love the whole attack speed meta, we're like, oh my god, attack speed increase? That's awesome. But can you see, there is only attack speed increase. Do you guys realize there's something wrong about this? There is no attack increase? Yeah, that's a huge problem when it actually comes to snipers like this. Remember Embriel? Plus 100% attack actually? When it comes to physical damage calculations, increase in attack means pretty much free damage. It's like true damage, you know? Because with the way how physical damage is calculated, it's the raw value minus defense. So when you increase in attack, it's, let's say enemy has 1000 defense, okay? Fartooth will do like 400 attack. 400 attack. Or something like that. Embriel, because she has the plus 100% attack, she will deal like about 2000 damage to the same enemy that has 1000 defense. That's the second biggest problem I have with this skill. How can you have a skill, no matter how much increase in attack speed that you get, not have increased attack? The base value is just not enough. Obviously, you can always buff. You can always like, okay, I will buff enemies. I will debuff enemies' defense by 50% with Chimera Doll. I can do another, I don't know, extra damage with Suzudan skill 3. I can buff her attack by, I don't know, Scotty skill 3, Red Scotty skill 3. And then I can buff her again with Warfire and blah, 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 blah. The whole shtick, right? You can do that to any operator. You can do that to any operator nowadays. It doesn't count. I don't count that. I see it as, this is a bad skill, because first of all, this combined with the trait of hitting the lowest defense enemy, which means that this is pretty much a skill focused on cleaning out the weak mobs. And when it comes to weak mobs, you know what's a better choice to clear out weak mobs? AoE damage. and they're not even that much more expensive. Like getting a W with 25 DP cost versus a 22 DP cost, I would rather take W because she can, while dealing damage to those enemies that are really weak and will just be destroyed with one shot, she will also deal damage to the stronger enemies at the same time. AoE, right? This skill is just she's poking at those weak enemies, and you don't even get to choose what you want to clear out. Sometimes you're like, okay, I want her to help out the lane with the most pressure. You can't do that. You just can't do that. That's the two main problems with skill 2. And as you can see, my friend here who lent me this account didn't even bother with mastering skill 2. By the way, he's a huge fan of all snipers, and even him didn't get her skill 2 to M3. You can tell like how unlikely you'll be using this skill. Now, obviously we can't talk about a 6-star operator without talking about the skill 3. As usually, this is usually the strongest skill, and that's the same with this operator. So within the duration of skill 3, she will have infinite range in front of her. So like in one lane in front of her, so you can think of Ifrit, right? But instead of 5 tiles in front of her, it's infinite. Technically speaking, it's not infinite. There's someone who tested out with a bug, and it shows that the damage only hits to like 20 to 25 tiles, but that's beside that point because the map in this game isn't really that big anyway. So pretty much infinitely in front of her. Plus 140 attack, which makes her damage really powerful. And when attacking enemies that are outside of her original attack range, the damage is increased to 140%. So the base stack, the base buff is plus 140% attack. The later one is increased by damage. Remember how I was talking about the talent and the trait thing? That also applies to this. So it's 2 multipliers, which is very good. Also, the multipliers also stack with each other. So you can imagine plus 15% attack and then plus another 140% attack. And then when you have plus 15% damage and then you times it by another 1.4, you get really high damage. I think like 4,000 or 5,000 damage per shot. Really strong, right? So, but there's a tiny little thing. Oh, before that, 20-second SP, 20 SP for cooldown and 20-second duration. It's pretty decent, I would consider this. There's just one tiny little problem. So let's say you're trying to kill a really strong enemy, like I don't know, Patriot as an example. Like, you know, the bosses that you want to clear out with a high damage single target skill. You want to kill Patriot, right? You have to make sure there's no one else within that range, because with anything else that is in the straight line with her and Patriot, she will prioritize the enemy with the lowest defense. Which means with the 20-second and with the original skill, I think you only get 8 shots. So if she gets baited by a random enemy, like a random wolf or something that's just running towards you, and she just shoots the wolf, that's 1 out of the 8 shots that she's going to deal wasted. That's like 12.5% of her potential damage just wasted. That's one enemy. If you have any other enemy running in between as well, and she just prioritizes them, more shots wasted. That's the first problem. So obviously, first you have to make sure that the enemies are pretty much singled out. Second of all, remember how the trait, the module, only gets increased damage when the enemy is further away. Also, the skill 3 also requires enemy to be outside of her original rank, original reach, for that extra 40% attack, extra 40% damage. Sorry for making that mistake. But you see, you have to have maps that are already further than her initial attack range, and you have to have the perfect spot to put down a high ground facing an enemy that is really high risk. Don't get me wrong, there are situations like that. There truly are. Like the first thing I can think of is there was a recent event recently in CN where the boss has like, I don't know, 70-80% physical dodge and the map is huge. That works perfectly well with Fartooth. Like, ignores enemies, dodge, get extra damage because she's further away, so on and so forth. Yeah, that's still good. But how limited is that? You are so limited at high ground placement, enemy choice. So she does really bad in maps where there's like tons of enemies, and then she would just hit one or two of them like slowly at a time. So you want maps with like fewer enemies and are all pretty high risk enemies. So let's say, I remember there's a stage in chapter 9 where there's like very few enemies and all of them are really annoying. So yeah, if you can use her to pick them off one by one, that's fine. But you're super limited to maps in those restrictions. And that is why I just don't like the design of this operator. Yeah, there's places that this shines. I think in CC Season 7, there's like the strategy where the boss is coming out from the most left side of the screen, and then you can put Fartooth on the most right side of the map, and then yeah, free shot, blah 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 blah. Doesn't bother me. I can deal with that CC with other way. Fartooth, not worth it. Now, remember how I was talking about the second reason where you really shouldn't pull Fartooth, and that is what's coming next? Yeah, we have a limited banner. Pretty much. We have a limited banner in about 3 weeks. And I think that explains everything. Right? We got a limited banner coming. She's not even that strong. Combined, why would you pull this operator? You shouldn't. And knowing me, I'm going to pull, but just because I pull doesn't mean that you should. Oh, also, the 5-star operator, what was her name? Ashlock? Yeah, don't even bother. Don't even pull for the bare minimum 5-star. Just thinking, oh, maybe I could get Ashlock. She's not even worth it. Because that is a defender that's trying to deal damage at range and really high cost. Yeah, not worth it. Definitely not worth it. So, that's it for this video. I hope you guys find this useful. And you know, it's me, whenever there's a new banner coming out with new operators, I always make a schedule pull. So if you like something like this in the future, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one, in where I'm probably going to be pulling this banner when I literally just told you guys don't pull. Yay! Bye.